It's complicated. Well, here we are. After the soft reboots and unofficial beginnings and whatever Creature Commandos was supposed to be, it's finally time for the official start of the DCU, James Gunn's Superman. A movie I was really hopeful for, I thought looked great in the trailers, I thought was recapturing that joy and uplifting feeling of optimism that Superman needs, but which was absent in the Snyder movies. Going in, I felt really good about this film, and after the DCEU had been a mismanaged train wreck for years, I was as confident as one can be about something like this, that DC on film was finally getting to a better place. I like a lot of things about this movie. James Gunn also makes a lot of really weird decisions that I can't wrap my head around. Some of which were good, some of which were bad, and some of which really didn't feel like they belonged here. I'll say that the cast is pretty great. Clark and Lois, pitch perfect. David Corenswet has this boyish, small-town, Midwestern good guy charm to him, loads of charisma, and he projects this vibe of next-door neighbor innocence. I'm not sure how to describe it, but within 5 minutes, I was like, yeah, this guy is Superman. Rachel Brosnahan, awesome. She just feels like Lois. She looks like Lois too, that doesn't hurt. She captures that investigative reporter thing perfectly, and these two have a ton of chemistry together. I don't think they could have done a better job casting Clark and Lois. Nicholas Hoult as Lex, he's good, though he hams it up a little too much for my taste. He's a bit too animated. I like Lex being more cool and calculating, like Lex from Superman the Animated Series, ironically. It's not bad, it's just not my preferred depiction of Lex. And all the other roles are very well cast too. Some of them might seem a little weird, but I can't complain about the actors at all. And James Gunn really gets most of these characters. Jor-El and Lara, maybe not so much, but that's spoilery stuff. Crypto was f***ing adorable. The goodest boy ever, absolutely charming and funny, big crowd pleaser. I like the tone of the movie. They've gotten rid of the oppressive darkness. Superman is bright and colorful and hopeful and optimistic again. Thank you. The action was well done, though James Gunn does seem to rely on certain techniques and styles of filming this stuff that you've seen before in his other movies. More on that in a minute. I like the score a lot. They didn't overthink it or get too fancy. They just took the John Williams theme and modernized it. That's great. That's all they had to do. That's all I wanted. So the score was great. The soundtrack, on the other hand, was not. The song choices Gunn went with here were not good at all. You may have heard him throwing around the term punk rock Superman and been wondering what the hell is that about. It's a reference to a line in the movie that I'm 100% convinced Gunn put in there for the sole reason of justifying these really bizarre song choices that felt incredibly awkward and out of place. It was the same thing he did with his previous films, but without the Walkman/Zune framing device. Didn't like it, they didn't belong here. And lastly, this is unashamedly a comic book movie. It absolutely embraces the craziness and the inherent ridiculousness of the source material. It doesn't try to ground things in reality like other films like this do. It goes in the opposite direction and really does create a real-life comic book on screen. And you wouldn't be able to get away with that with every property, but with Superman, it makes sense and it works. Now, having said all that, while James Gunn does some good things here, he also spends a lot of the movie getting in his own way, and he makes creative choices here that make me think a second opinion or some studio notes would have done him a lot of good. Also, after the Suicide Squad and now Superman, I think James Gunn does his best work when he's on a leash, and he has someone like a Kevin Feige to keep his weirder impulses in check. When he has too much creative freedom, he goes to some strange places and has a habit of falling back on storytelling mechanics that he prefers, even if they might not be the best idea in a movie like this. And what I mean is, this isn't really a Superman movie, it's a Guardians of the Galaxy movie with Superman characters. Look at all the projects James Gunn has done in Marvel and DC. Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, Creature Commandos. It's the same thing every time. The ragtag group of misfits, the same dynamic over and over, just with different characters. Gunn doesn't seem to know any other way to do this. And in Superman, he did it again. You get Superman and his supporting cast, but there's also a crap ton of other DC characters who have pretty decent-sized roles and take a lot of time away from that supporting cast, like the Justice Gang. I can't really complain about them. Guy Gardner is really funny. Mr. Terrific is a badass and gets to do a lot of cool stuff. They're all entertaining and fun to be around. But what the hell are they doing here? And it's not just them, there's other characters too. Metamorpho, Engineer. It gets really crowded with all these people, and Superman's supporting cast is kind of taking a back seat to them. Like Lois. I wouldn't say that Lois is lacking screen time exactly, but for big chunks of the movie, she's playing shotgun to someone else. Would you believe that Mr. Terrific's role is as big or bigger than Lois's? Very strange. We don't see a lot of John and Martha, though they're used well when they appear, and there's a scene with Clark and Pa Kent that was really good. Jimmy isn't used much. He gets this weird side story that seemed to only exist to solve a problem for the Daily Planet characters in the third act in a twist that felt way too convenient, and Perry is on screen for less than 2 minutes. Meanwhile, the Justice Gang is all over the place. A bunch of them get their own subplots. The attention was split in too many different directions here. I don't dislike the Justice Gang or these other people, but they're in a lot of this movie, and it's a Superman movie. I wanted to spend more time with Superman's cast. Rosnahan's Lois is great. I wanted more of her. Why is like half her screen time just her tagging along while Mr. Terrific does stuff? Superman, Lois, and Lex. That's what the focus should have been on. Also, you've got Jimmy, Perry, and the Kents, and that's your core cast. But then you start adding all these other characters so you can, I assume, lay the groundwork for various spin-off movies and streaming shows and whatever. And sure, Marvel are guilty of this too sometimes, but holy shit, this is a lot of characters to introduce in your first project whose sole purpose should have been to just make a great Superman movie. I wouldn't say any of these characters are bad, there's just too damn many of them, and they're taking time away from the people I came to see. And I wonder if that happened because James Gunn didn't know what to do with those people, or found them uninteresting because, again, he's still in Guardians of the Galaxy mode, and he's gravitating toward the characters who are more like the ones he's accustomed to using. And that mindset seeps into the action as well. There's one particular action set piece with Mr. Terrific, you'll know which one when you get to it, that is going to feel very familiar to you. And it's familiar because you've seen it before. I won't say it's a ripoff because you can't rip off yourself, but James Gunn basically just copy-pasted an action sequence from Guardians of the Galaxy and dropped it into here. It's the same f***ing scene, just done with Mr. Terrific instead of Yondu. I couldn't believe it. Why are you using Mr. Terrific if the similarities are this obvious? It just made no sense to me. So that was one weird idea, and it seems like James Gunn had a lot of those and was trying to cram in as many as humanly possible. There's a brewing war in the Middle East, there's a kaiju battle, a destabilizing pocket universe with a secret prison, all the stuff with crypto, Lex trying to set up this anti-Superman task force, the public turning against Superman because of reasons, some weird commentary about social media to set up what looked like a very random pot shot at the internet community, and so on and so on. This film is very busy. It's trying to juggle so many different subplots and characters and ideas and concepts that it has to tie together, and yeah, James Gunn is better at that than most filmmakers, but god damn it, it's just so crowded with so much stuff going on, and it can't seem to decide where the focus should be. And the movie is so preoccupied with all this stuff that the simpler fundamental stuff kind of gets glossed over. And this leads to character development getting truncated and major plot points too because of some strange narrative choices that Gunn makes. For instance, a big crux of the story is a particular event that happens before the movie begins, and it gets talked about a lot throughout the film, but we never actually see it. Then you've got Clark and Lois. There's that scene from the trailer where Lois is interviewing Superman about how he stopped 2 foreign nations from going to war with each other. It's a great scene. We see that this is a Superman who's still young, he's still new at this, and he has kind of a simplistic view of what he should be doing as a hero. His mentality is, I'm gonna save this person or break up this fight or stop this war because it's the right thing to do and people will die if I don't. But then Lois comes at him like, well, It's more complicated than that. There's all these geopolitical ramifications of a metahuman representing America getting involved in a foreign conflict and blah blah blah. Did you consider that? And Clark's over here like, Lois, I just want to help people. I just want to make the world a better place. Can I do that? Is that so wrong? So you think, okay, that's the story. The movie's about Clark trying to be the old-fashioned do-gooder in a world where doing good is a really complex thing because of all this political nonsense. But it isn't. It is in that scene, but then that story kind of goes away, and eventually it gets resolved not by Clark learning how to navigate the nonsense and solving the problem, but by the problem getting invalidated and made much less complex because of something else that happens later. Also, there's Clark and Lois having their first big argument as a couple because of this issue. There's relationship drama. Lois is having some doubts about them being together. Okay, cool. There's a good potential story there. At first, but then they start hitting you with all these other plots and characters and concepts and side stories, and the relationship drama gets shoved aside to make room for all this other stuff, and it isn't touched on very much until the end of the film, where it magically gets resolved without them really doing anything to fix it. They don't have to talk to each other much to hash out their issues or work together to resolve their drama. The drama just kind of goes away, and just like that, they're good again because the plot was so busy with all this other crap, there was no time left to address it. I feel like these two stories are what the movie should have been about, and that's where the heart of the movie should have been, but instead they get crammed in with like 3 dozen other things, and we don't get to deep dive into them because Superman's gotta go fight a kaiju, or escape from a pocket universe, or stop a war in the Middle East, or the Justice Gang have to do action stuff or whatever. The movie is trying to do so many different things all at once, including a bunch of other things I haven't even mentioned. I wanted them to pick 1 or 2 things and focus on those. Instead, the story has like 5 different ideas, each of which could have been the climax of this film on their own, and it tries to do them all. And as much as I'm enjoying these actors and these characters and having fun with the action, it just gets to be too damn much. There is stuff to like about this movie. The cast is great, the characters who need to have chemistry have tons of it, the jokes land more often than not, the action is a lot of fun, there are some great iconic shots in there. I thought it was really refreshing to return to the classic hope and optimism of Superman after all the darkness and nihilism that Zack Snyder got bogged down in. There are moments of greatness here, but the movie has enough ideas crammed into it for an entire trilogy at least. The job here should have been to keep it simple in your first film in this new universe and just focus on getting Superman right. But James Gunn got way too ahead of himself and way too excited about all the characters he wanted to introduce and all the world building he wanted to do that he tried to do it all at once. And there's just no way that wasn't going to turn into a bit of a mess. Look, I still think James Gunn can do good things with DC. This was not up to his usual standard. He might need a little help. Someone to stop him from putting every single idea he has into one movie. Maybe he's not the solo hero guy. Maybe he's just the ragtag band of misfits guy and that's his wheelhouse. Okay, so let him do Secret Six or Stormwatch and let somebody else handle Superman. There's a ton of piss-poor comic book media out there right now. We know James Gunn is capable of making it really damn good, but Superman, while it has good things about it, wasn't what it should have been. So figure your shit out, dial it back, you've got some great building blocks here, just stop trying to do so much so fast. And, you know, maybe think twice before having Supergirl drunkenly call Superman a bitch next time. Just a thought. Thanks so much for watching. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow all of my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there. And this channel is a one-man operation. I do all this stuff myself, so help me out by doing all the other YouTube things. Smashing that like button, leaving a comment, sharing the video, subscribing if you haven't already, and making sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to have Crypto the super dog jumping all over him, making his injuries even worse as he lies bleeding in the snow after having been beaten half to death, is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned. I'll see you next time.